All right. So today's video, today's video. Oh what? I forgot. For this video, thumbs up, thumbs down, and give me some insight on what y'all think or how y'all think I should react to certain things. This is sort of a reaction video, but I'm sort of gonna insert myself into this conversation. It's a very, very good conversation. So, I mean, and I'm hoping that Officer Tatum don't mind me sort of doing a reaction video with going along with this, what they having a conversation or whatever. And I hope he don't mind me using this and kind of inserting myself into the conversation almost. Um, they gonna hit a lot of good topics, I suppose, because I really haven't watched the video. I think I only watched like so far 10 minutes of it or something like that, and I feel like this would be a good video. I mean, I ain't gonna be saying much, but I'm gonna be cutting in so I can get my kind of opinion into it. It'd be like I'm inserting myself into this conversation. Basically, it's what I'm gonna be doing. Um, so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get it started. I'm 2 minutes in, 2:44 in right now of his introduction. Basically, I'm gonna see how this go. All right, thumbs up, thumbs down, and some insight, y'all. All right, here we go. Let's go.
We're going to go through a few different things, and I'm honored to have different perspectives. Not everybody that's on this panel is probably think exactly the same. I think we
Oh
all
yeah,
come from a different point. We all have a different.
I have two screens, so you're gonna catch me playing on this side over here because operational screen over here, and it's a screen I'm supposed to be that is playing on also. All right, here we go.
Testimony. And so before we start, and I get everybody on here, if you're interested in the new merch we just dropped, go to the Officer Tatum store. Go to the Officer Tatum store. We also have 50% off clearance on some of our select items. So get them now. Once they sell out, you ain't gonna have a chance. So I think we got 5 people on the panel. All right. Let me see. I'm gonna start bringing y'all in here. ABL in the house, y'all know ABL.
What up, ABL?
In the house, y'all, I think y'all know her from.
What up, Amala? Eric Butler, what up?
You ready, Savvy? All right.
What up, Savvy?
It's a weird little screen. I can hear you.
How's it going, everybody?
Yep, can you hear me?
Here are y'all. Let me make sure. This better.
I need to invest in a cool backdrop.
Get on it, Savvy. Get on it.
All right, so welcome everybody.
I do too.
Welcome.
I do too.
I got a lot of things I want to talk about. First thing, and by all means, jump in. You don't have to wait for me to call on you. Jump in the conversation whenever you're ready to jump in. If you have something to add to the conversation, if not, jump in anyway. I want to talk about the Supreme Court Justice nominee, Miss Brown Jackson. I think that's her name, her last name. I want to talk about. I want to hear you guys' opinions about what are we looking at here. Cory Booker gave a compelling exhortation, I would say, and presented this image of the struggle that the black man have in this country and how she is I guess, the crescendo of all the racism in this country put together, and it finally has found its way out of the country, and it ended with her being at the Supreme Court justice, or at least being in a hearing. So, what do y'all think about this? Is she a good candidate, or is she a woke activist? Go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna go first. She's a woke activist. You know what I mean? And she pandering to whatever the liberal side, most like the Democratic side, want her to do. She can't give a straight answer. You know what I mean? That's a red flag in itself. You know what I mean? And then just her whole nonchalant personality and attitude towards the questions being asked just shows a lot. Like, dude, we shouldn't have her in the Supreme Court. Real talk. That's how I see it. Now, here's goes everybody else's opinions. All right, and or facts. I mean, they smarter than I am, yo. I'm just here observing.
Well, okay. What's up, guys? Thank you for having me, by the way, man. Awesome. What I think personally is she might actually not be that bad, but we've come so far away from talking about the actual, you know, uh, substance that it has become activism. So we don't know. It's all watered down, right? And they can't be trusted. Like, maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago in 2018, you might have been able to sort of look at this with a clear head, but it's all been so foggy for at least, the past 2 years, like with Rona and everything, all that insanity. So we have no way of telling, right? I mean, they could tell us the truth tomorrow, and they've watered down their opinion so much that we don't know if they're lying anymore. So obviously, I don't trust her, but we'll see, man.
I mean, I'll hop on in here and say it started off on the wrong foot for me when they promised this administration promised that they were going to nominate a black female. That automatically put me on the wrong foot, and I think it put a lot of people there too because automatically you're looking at a whole pool of candidates that you've eliminated just for the sake of finding somebody who's a black female. And
Right.
then we get Jackson Brown and we start hearing about her support of critical race theory, which I think
This
all
is
of us are
ridiculous.
not major supporters of. We've seen her track record when it comes to letting off people for the arrest of child porn and things like that. And then we get fact checkers who say, well, this is completely normal, but we can't even trust the fact checkers anymore. And I think what you said, Eric, is really important. It's the lack of trust and accountability here. It doesn't matter what we hear or what people say. She could be the greatest judge to ever sit on the Supreme Court, but we can't trust the people who are telling us that.
Exactly. Exactly. That's one smart lady, right? Little girl right there.
Trust.
Little lady.
He's such a horrible judge of character. Good God. The last time he promised us a black woman, we got Kamala. And
She's not all
I'm
black.
surprised she didn't
Nor black.
raise her hand. Please pick me. Please let me out. Let me out. Please. So like she said, as soon as I heard, he wants to nominate a black woman, that immediately put me on the defensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's just insulting.
You know what? Go ahead.
Yeah, like, yeah, we want to see a black woman on the Supreme Court, obviously, whatever. But
not with propaganda.
as if those are the most important qualities in a human being is their gender and their race. And now we have the Supreme Court judge. She's not completely terrible, but like that's the best you got?
Right.
Really?
Right.
You didn't even look at her record or look at her judicial record, look at her sentencing. This is all public record.
Right.
It's not like you have to dig through minds to find it. It's all on the internet. You didn't even take a deep dive and look to see who this person was, how they judged in the past.
It wouldn't even have to be a deep dive. Like they just scratch
Just
the
look,
surface.
just scratch the surface, exactly.
Yeah,
And
ABL.
And you'll see it all.
Someone else.
They're gonna force her through because it doesn't even really matter who you put in there. They just want somebody they can control. That's
Right.
the ultimate thing
That's
here.
exactly what
They
it
want to
is.
control her, just like the same thing with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. They're not actually running the country. The staffers, people that's behind the scenes, they're running the country. It's like, all right, Joe, here's some papers. Go out there and read that. I know
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard for you to read it.
Yeah.
You're gonna put it in real beat quote letters on the teleprompter. Just if you can't read a word, sound it out, make it make sense, and just say that.
Yeah. That's
It doesn't
exactly
make
how it
sense.
looks
Say,
every time
"Oh,
you
what,
see
we're gonna
him.
put it out there anyway." That's what they're doing right now because they are running the show. So they don't really care so much about her and the child abuse stuff. They don't care. Okay, put the black woman in there, give them a bump for the midterm elections so they can say we're inclusive. It doesn't matter talking about Kamala Harris and her staff, how they were white and they quote unquote allegedly abused her. Don't worry about that. Look over here at this black Supreme Court Justice nominee. That's all you got to worry about.
Misdirection.
And just really quickly though, and Steven Crowder brought this up actually, so shout out to him. But she's been robbed almost of any of her own merits, right? Because when Joe Biden says that, we now don't know if she is capable at all. So they took that right away from her, and I think they also should have followed up the question of what is a woman with what is a black person, right? That would have been the logical next.
Now that would have been sweet.
Right? Because we know why she was picked. And
That would have been
I
sweet.
think she might have an answer for that. So it's funny that she doesn't have an answer for what is a woman.
Yeah, I think you all hit the nail on the head with a few different angles because I find it very interesting that they couldn't just go out and select her behind the scenes. Say, I'm going to pick the best, most qualified Supreme Court justice nominee. This is going to be the most competitive rate ever. I'm going to have to go through all of these great candidates, and I'm going to come out with the top one. Me and my staff and our team, we're going to make sure this is going to be the best pick in the United States history. And then they know they can just pick a black woman. And there you go. You know, without, making her a spectacle. She probably does have a lot of good credentials, but the way they, escorted her out there, and they picked a person who's an activist and not a person who can I could say govern. I wouldn't say govern, but to rule impartially. They put her out there. There's no way that you're here to represent women, to represent black women, and you don't know. You're too afraid to describe. She know what a woman is. She's too afraid to describe a woman in fear of offending a man who wants to live as a woman. They asked her today, I think it was today, that when does life start? She's so, whacked out of her mind, and she has children. So she can't even answer when does life start because she's too afraid of offending somebody who wants to have an abortion.
Exactly.
It's all political though, because at the end of the day, she knows that the question about gender is going to come up. So now if you come out and say something, well, you say, all right, a woman, XX chromosomes, you can't say that because that's going to be used against you if you try to say something else later when you got to side with the liberals on the Supreme Court when it comes to transgenderism and quote unquote Leah Thomas and things of that nature. It's all political. Like you said, she knows the answer. It's not difficult to really understand what a woman is. She's talking about the science, but they don't want to say it. And one more thing, I saw this, I guess it was a fact checking article today where they said, what's a woman? Well, the science is not really sure. It's like, really? We're not really sure now? But when I was a little boy, I was told, X, 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 Y was pretty simple. But now, oh man, we don't know. It's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says she's not a biologist. I think she said something of that nature. But it's like, you don't have to be a biologist to know that you're a woman. To know XY chromosomes. That's very simplistic. You learn that in grade school. So she's just being disingenuous.
I think this last thing really quickly though, we do remember that in 2018, their literal slogan was "Believe all women." That was the slogan. That was plastered all over everything, and we've clearly done. I guess it's a 180. I don't even know what.
Nah, see, look, the thing is, you can identify as woman. So how about this? Now I identify as woman. That's right. I'm not Anthony. I'm Antoinette. So
No.
Yeah, that's crazy. I got three female on the panel right now.
We're outnumbering you, Brandon.
It's crazy how you can just do that. We were just thinking about women. I mean, and we have two women on here. I would like to hear you guys, explain how you feel about, and I know we all have a take to it. Men have an equal, visceral response to a certain degree. But how do you guys feel about Leah Thomas and women in or males competing in female sports? Like, how does that make you feel as a woman?
Yeah, so I'm gonna interject real quick, not objecting to anything they saying, because of course, as y'all see, a whole black panel that thinks for themselves. You know what I mean? Our people don't really think for themselves. They go along with what they told to do and say in the media, from the media. You know what I'm saying? And then they want to call people like them Uncle Toms for being self-aware and thinking for themselves. Something like I do nowadays. Because I used to be I was Democrat big time. And they criticize them and call us Uncle Tom for not agreeing with what the other blacks say in the Democratic Party. But then they don't do their research or history and know that the racist party always have been the Democratic Party. Way back when everything broke, before everything, the slavery ended and everything. But the Democrats got smart and said, skip this. We blame the racism on Republicans. We pull in the blacks to the side, and we get what we want by having blacks represent the negative things that they want, and they push it, and the blacks run with it. The black Democrats run with it to to forward their careers, progress their careers ahead. You know what I mean? It's like being in the hood as a dope dealer or whatever. All your guys, you got them around you, and you want them all to do good, but they got to stay one level under you, so you can kind of keep that control. That's exactly what the Democratic Party has become. They keep the black people gaining and progressing everywhere in all parts of society, but they make sure they stay right here and they fight to get ahead of the next black person. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm better than that black person, so put me here and keep them there. Like, they don't, in the hood, you don't see a lot of dope dealers wanting more dope dealers around them to be like them. No, they want to keep people down. Same in this democratic process, and or whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. It's just like that. I'm just relating it to more of a street thing because that's where I was from. You know, I ain't been in the streets like that years. All right, go ahead and continue this.
It makes me feel a lot of things personally. It just shows that they were just trying to view everything that was known as reality as this sort of subjective thing. And truth is subjective at this point now. And that's really concerning because it makes you wonder what other facets of our society this sort of ideology is going to infiltrate into. I used to be a radical leftist, for those of you who don't know me. 4 years ago, I was working for the political left as a youth organizer, running around indoctrinating people. And even back then, 4 years ago, we were talking about women being the victims of patriarchy and how the radical feminist movement was the next wave in America. And now it's like, what even does it mean to be a woman anymore? Now men can identify as that and take on our victimhood under this patriarchy and our womanhood. So it's shows something about leftist ideology is that you are the victim for now, and they will use you as much as they can for now, and as soon as they're done with you and they've achieved what they've achieved, they'll move on to the next person.
Exactly.
They don't care if it stomps all over you.
Exactly. And I'm glad to see a young lady like that waking up before it's too late, or not even too late, just waking up, period. You know what I'm saying? And realizing what that party is about. And I'm not saying everybody in that party is, yeah, skip that. I'm glad she woke up just like I did, you know what I mean? And realized what they doing over there. And they propaganda and everything they trying to do to this to America, period. You know what I mean? I'm glad she woke up and she know what's happening. That's real waking up. That wokeism, that liberal wokeism, that's all just propaganda and scandalous. It's nothing, you know what I mean? Not to me anyway. For real. And my speaker cut off on me, so I gotta restart that. All right, here we go.
Yeah, the entire thing is just strange. I think too much. That's my problem.
Yeah, we all think
Because you sit here and
a
say,
lot.
I identify as a woman. What do you mean exactly? Because that doesn't make sense to me as a woman. Like, what are you identifying with exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole concept of gender identity and then preferred pronouns. These are belief systems that some people believe in and subscribe to. Not everyone has. Most people don't have the gender identity. They don't see their gender as being something to identify with. I don't identify as a woman. I am a woman. I exist as a woman. It's in my bones. Like, some days I feel like a girly girl and I want to go out and look cute, and other days I just want to walk around barefoot and wear sweatpants. Like, what are you identifying with exactly? But you can't even define that. That's what's frustrating to me. You're sitting here telling me that you and I are similar or the same, but you can't even tell me exactly what it is that makes us the same. You can't even define it. But you want to throw out all these words. You want to redefine things, but you can't even figure out what the foundation is, and yet you want me to participate in it all. And that's where I get irritated. Call yourself whatever you want. Nothing I can do about that. The issue is when you say, why can't I just mind my own business? Why can't you just mind your business? The problem is you want me to mind your business, and then I can't even have a say in it.
Right.
It's frustrating. And then the thing with Leah Thomas doesn't make any sense because we're talking about athletics. But everything is catering to her identity. Well, what does her identity have to do with athletics? Athletics is all about your physiology, your anatomy, and your biology. That has nothing to do with how you see yourself. And if we're being honest, your physiology, your anatomy, your biology with respect to Leah Thomas is male. There's no changing that.
Right.
There's no amount of outer changing you can do that will ever stop you from being male.
Right.
And I don't understand why that's an issue, because without the concept of biology, we don't even have transgenderism. Y'all, I think too much. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
And you don't think you're thinking the right thing. I mean,
Exactly.
it's called logic. I don't know how people get famous and popular with just being logical. I mean, that tells you that people are not logical. It's actually scary because there's people out in the streets that will argue stuff and they haven't even read anything. Like the "Don't Say Gay" bill. Like that's not even a thing.
Right.
The bill doesn't even say that anywhere in it. And you're attacking LGBTQ. You don't know nothing about what you're talking about. The logical person will say, "Let me read this." That's exactly what they're doing. They think, well, at least they try to make it about them so they can become a victim in the scenario they created,
Mhm.
and therefore they can have value.
Right.
Some people don't feel like they have value. I mean, the feminist movement, and to a certain degree, I would argue that it's a bunch of people, most of them are women, who don't have or don't feel that they have value, and so they attach themselves to these,
Groups.
this activism and
Mhm.
different things like that to be valuable in their own eyes or in the group eyes, but they're struggling on the inside internally. So I want to jump subjects real quick, and talk about a little bit about the family protection bill. I think it's called something like that. What is it called? Parental protection bill.
Parental rights? Yeah.
Parental rights and education bill. Okay, yeah, that's right. I want to talk about that a little bit. What do you guys think about the conflict or the controversy around
The fact that we even have to write that kind of bill is just crazy. Like, are we really at that point? And a lot of this comes from, you have different school districts that are really trying to implement gender identity and preferred pronouns into young education, trying to make it part of sex education, which is just weird. And then you have, teachers on social media. This is what the pandemic brought us, because we're all on social media. So people who normally weren't on social media before, they're expressing themselves on social media now. So we're getting this extra peek behind the curtain. Educators who are saying, yep, I talk about pronouns in my class, or I came out to my students. There's a popular creator, I can't remember her name, who talked about how she came out as non-binary to her students. That's not appropriate, I'm sorry. I had a chorus teacher in high school whom we assumed was gay, but it was never
Confirmed.
confirmed. It's just
it? It wasn't none of your business. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right. Just teeth.
Right.
But like I said, things like gender identity and preferred pronouns, these are ideologies that not everyone believes in. And a lot of them are tied to religion. These are things you need to keep out of the classroom. Period. Before we even get to what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. Before you cross in and disrespect someone's faith, stay away from that.
I'll definitely add that the left has been super smart with the marketing on this one and calling it the "Don't Say Gay" bill, because as soon as you can manipulate language and tie that to a visceral part in someone's experience, they will forever see that bill as the "Don't Say Gay" bill. That name is not going to change. So I think that's really smart. And the reason that we should be fighting this and fighting for this bill to be passed is because children are very impressionable and malleable, and they know that too. They know that if they can get these ideas in a brain that is young and fresh, that they'll stick, and they're coupling these conversations with ideas that your parents aren't really your parents, and if they don't support you, I'm your parent here. We have teachers making videos on TikTok saying, I have a transition closet in my classroom so that kids can come to school in the clothes that their parents approve, but then change in my classroom into what they would like to wear and identify as what they like to identify as. And that is super concerning, and it shows you they know that children are the future, that they're going to be the ones making the decision later, and they want to get them as young as possible.
I got something on that real quick. What she just said, how that a teacher, some teachers letting the kids come in. The parents don't let them dress like that, but when they come to school, they can go in the back and get dressed the way they want to dress. Now, these are not their opinions. These are all my opinions on this part right here, because this kind of align with what I'm one of my other videos was about. Like sending your kid to school and not knowing your kid got the vaccine or a vaccine or a shot at all, period, of any sorts. And you knowing that school ain't supposed to touch your kids like that, or put nothing inside your kids or nothing. But they doing that in certain states where the parent have no say basic or don't even know that their kid had been vaccinated unless that kid had a bad reaction. But that's the same thing what she just said is that but you could correlate that back down to this what's going on, been going on for a while since the vaccine came out or a vaccine came out. It's the same thing to me. You know what I mean? Your kid go to school, come back vaccinated. You won't know unless that kid had a side effect.
Why do you have to be a part of it?
I get you changing my kid up in the classroom. You have a problem.
You see what I'm saying? I said that, dog, in one of my other videos.
It's all leading to having kids be underage and consent to sex. That's where it's going.
Pedophilia. Exactly.
Because
that's exactly what they're thinking about
why does
trying to
a
do.
5-year-old need to know about sexuality? Why
At
are
all.
you trying to teach them about sexuality?
At all.
A 5-year-old is just worried about playing with toys, running around, getting a paint and stuff on them. They're not worried about sexuality. They can't understand it. Because the minds are still developing, the minds are still young. They're way too young to hear about this.
Mm-hmm.
So when you brainwash them from a young age, because the so-called Don't Say Gay bill, also known as the Parental Rights and Education bill, it says specifically you can't teach kids anything about gender identity from K through 3. Now, why would anybody say, well, actually, we should teach kindergartners, 5-year-olds about gender identity? Why? It's because they want to brainwash them. I saw a poll. You guys probably saw it as well. I forget where it was. But it said 40% of Gen Z identifies LGBT. Why? Is it because it just happens to be more inclusive and more open? No. We're talking about LGBT. That's less than 5% of the population worldwide. And that's being very generous. Probably less than 2%. 40% is because they've been brainwashed from an early age. They're confused. They don't understand what's going on. Just like Dwayne Wade's son.
Mm-hmm.
How can he know at 12 years old he's transgender?
Right.
How can you know that? You know what I thought when I was like 5, 6 years old? I am a Power Ranger, Ninja Turtle, and X-Man, all of that.
Voltron.
I was 5 years old, and when I was 8, I was Michael Jackson, doing spins in the class and all of that. But then nobody said, "Hey man, you know, lighten your skin up, get the little glove. You could be no, you're still Anthony." So these kids are being brainwashed by these people. That's why they're so mad about it. Okay, and when you saw that the Disney walkout, it kind of reminded me of when you saw an illegal immigrant rally. It's like, okay, you know where the vendors are. They're right there. Get them.
And I do want to point out really quickly here a massive hole in the logic here as it pertains to the left. They're the same ones who were telling us that gender roles don't even exist, that little girls can like whatever color they want, they can play with whatever toys they want, they can dress how they want, and they're still a girl. Now they're saying, oh, a little boy who likes to wear dresses or likes the color pink, maybe he's female. But 2 years ago, you were telling me that gender roles don't exist and to raise boys and girls the same. So which one is it? Because they can't both hold water.
Right.
Yeah, they want to act activism on every point.
Mm-hmm.
They want to get the LGBTQ. They want to get people in this area. They want to get the black folks. They want to go down the entire spectrum to pander to each group. And people have such a short memory, they forget they got pandered to. They want to go down and pander to each group until they get your vote, until they get you emotionally riled up, until they get you to hate your neighbor. And then they capitalize at the polls. They do such a good job.
Mm-hmm.
Cory Booker's speech today was so incredible. It was a lie.
It was totally a lie.
I don't know what. It's not even real life, but it was incredible. So they get you
Spartacus sequel.
Emotional.
They get you emotional.
Mm-hmm.
They get you connected. I saw Shaquille O'Neal posted. I said, this is how they have leverage because they know how to get people emotional, even though it's not reality.
I left a comment on something.
I'm about to pause this second. Pause it for a minute. But yeah, that's how they get you though, man. Straight up. They make the speech seem so real. But if you don't pay attention to the words he's saying and the logic or use your common sense to everything that he's saying is basically a lie. You know what I mean? So if you don't pay attention to those things, then you're going to fall into that emotional side of it and agree with the dude. But not realizing you agreeing with something that don't make sense, that only tugged at your heartstrings, and it because it was emotional. That's it. Other than that, no.
LGBT mob or whatever, they are not going to reproduce. So this is how they have to reproduce their people.
Yep.
Normal people are going to have families.
Have to turn into them.
Populate the world that way.
Exactly.
The traditional way. But versus what they're going to have to do is recruit other people's children because they're not going to be able to make them themselves.
Exactly.
And secondly, it's a little scary how quick this has come on. I went to college in San Francisco, California. I mean, this is pretty much where this stuff comes from, right? Okay.
Yes, feel
You
bad
know,
for
and
you.
I crawl that way out of it. So, I mean, and I don't want to date myself here too much, but in 2009, there was drag queens and gay guys, but nobody, I don't remember ever one time having somebody tell me, I am a woman, you must address me as such. And that wasn't that long ago. And now where we're at, it's like, you have no choice. If you do not obey every single one of these things, then you are, take your pick. You know, they're going to call you whatever it
Or
is. So I
cancel
think that's
if you got
also
any
very clear,
notoriety.
and they have to continue their ideology without repopulating in the traditional way, and this is why they're coming after the kids so hard. It's very scary
Exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, this is not the LGBTQ community of old. The old activists from like the 90s and the 2000s, where they just wanted to exist. Just let me exist. Just
Exactly.
let me be.
Right.
I just want to be respected, you know, and be able to live my life without anything extra. Now it's like, I want to live my life, but I want you to participate in my
Buddy.
life. And I want you to agree with my life, and I want you to validate my life. Like, no, sir, I just want to eat my chicken. Just leave me alone.
And it's causing a schism within the LGBTQ community because there are still lesbian, gay people who are saying, whoa, 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 wait a second. This is not what I signed up for when I said I was an ally to you guys. This is getting far too extreme. And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of gay people and lesbian people start to say, I think I'm conservative now. That you're getting so crazy. I think I'm on the right.
Buddy, you unplugged me, bro. Buddy, you unplugged me.
And then I talk about a video that I saw. So when ABL said that, what was it, 40% of kids identify in the LGBTQ, and I feel like the Gen Z, I feel like the reason why is because they've added the alphabet so far out that there's an ally, there's I don't know, they have these other people who may not be gay or lesbian or whatever, but they're supportive of it, so then they become a part of the LGBTQ whole thing. And I saw a video about women's suffrage, and I never thought of this before, but after seeing what they have done to our country and Black Lives Matter movement, I don't believe nothing. So it's a guy that made a video, and I'm not saying I agree with.
We're gonna come back to that in a hot second. I gotta smash this little food real quick. Alright, don't wanna eat on screen. Give me a minute. Alright, we're back. We're gonna continue this where we left off at. And here we go. See, it didn't take that long either. I eat fast.
It made me think. He said women's suffrage. He asked the person, what do you think women's suffrage movement was about? And they were talking about women's rights and equality and giving women opportunities. And he said, no, that's not what it's about. The Rothschilds wanted to do two things. One was to get the women to not be at home, so they can get the kids in school earlier. And if they have kids in school earlier, they can indoctrinate the children at an early age. The second one was that at the time, they were only able to tax half of the population in the country. And so if they can, if women can have rights and equality and vote and everything, now they can tax 100% of people in the country. So it was about taxes and about manipulating your children. And I said, wow, I can't prove it. I can't say I agree 100%, but that really made me think.
It makes sense.
Because I see them dripping some of the same sentiment in movements that they claim are for Black people or for LGBTQ, and they have an underlying hidden agenda.
Right. I think very rarely do people do things sheerly for others' benefit. So you always have to think about when these movements are happening, who's really benefiting from this. And it's gotten crazy for me because as I went from left to right and I started looking into all the crazy stuff that was happening in this country, thinking, oh, this is just a modern day phenomenon. And you go and listen to people and they go, no, this has been in the books for 60 years, 100 years. People have planned this out step by step by step, and look at the way that the society is deteriorating.
Yeah, the destruction of the nuclear family is, man, I don't know why people can't see it as clear. One of the biggest activist movements ever, I think one of the biggest in history, was BLM. I mean, you had Black Lives Matter all over the world. They got Black Lives Matter on the court. They got and one of their missions, in their mission statement, was to destroy the nuclear family. I mean, what more can you say? The biggest movement The biggest movement in America and almost all over the world wanted to destroy the nuclear family. What were you gonna say, Beyond?
People don't read. They don't read. They're not gonna go to the website and read that.
Mm-mm.
They don't really care. All they know is Black Lives Matter. All they know is the slogan, the catchphrase, the 3 words, Black Lives Matter. They don't know about anything else. If you say, hey, have you gone to the website? What website? I don't know. I saw it on Twitter. I saw it on IG. I saw it on TikTok. What website? They're not gonna read that. We know about it, but they don't. So then when they're seeing certain little messages and certain little things that are being sent out there by BLM affiliated groups, they don't even understand what's happening because they don't understand what their purpose is. They don't really get it.
It's the same reason you can say don't say gay now, and people have know exactly what you're talking about, but they know nothing about what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, there's a laundry list of them too. Remember there was the some some voting rights act. They come up with all the euphemisms in the world to trick people because they know that you're gonna have what a 95% headline warrior rate that's not gonna get past the first sentence. And we're all to blame a little bit for that, right? Like it's tough. You're busy, you got things to do, so you can't really spend all the time in the world reading every single, the fine print. And they come out with these big bills that are 1,200 pages or whatever, and nobody even knows. They slip it under your nose, and before you know it, you're like, wait, what just happened? It's like, so it reminds me of that Seinfeld episode where Jerry agrees to wear the shirt because he didn't hear what she was saying. You know what I mean? He's like, what did I agree to? How did this happen? You look back, you're like, wait, when? I don't even remember this. And they're like, oh yeah, we slipped it into that 1,200-page bill that you weren't able to read.
Yeah. It's emotion. That's pretty much what it is. It's all emotional politics. I said on someone's TikTok, this is how the black community gets played every 4 years.
Exactly.
That's what I said. Because they know we're an emotional people. We are. I mean, we're colorful. That's what my mama says.
Right.
But, and you don't have to promise anything. You don't even have to do anything. Just tug on those emotional strings.
And that's exactly how they got us and get us.
Black people to do anything. We're still being manipulated. Did slavery even end at this point? I'm wondering. They've just
I
found
don't
a
think
way to
That's what
keep
Kanye said.
It's in the mind. I think
It's in
it's
the
mental
mind.
slavery.
Yep,
For you to
mental
be
slavery.
voting outside of your best interest every single year, year in and year out, it's
Perfectly
the manipulation of the mind. And I think you made an incredible point when it comes to black people and emotions. It's the kryptonite. Like Superman, I think Superman and kryptonite go together. I think that is.
Yeah, you're right.
The black community is like Superman. We got all these superpowers. Dominate sport.
I gotta say this. It's like basically you rail on the emotions of black people by saying big orange guy, bad. Slow guy can't talk. Good. That's how they rode on your emotion. They pander to it as like Trump racist, Trump racist, Trump racist, dug in their head, their emotions. So when it's time to go to the booth, we're gonna vote for a guy who barely said anything to us. No, I won't bring up the facts that what he said back in the 70s about kids going to school, his kids going to school in the jungle or whatever, however it was quoted or said anyway. I'm not quoting it word for word, but we know that it was said. I'm not going to think about what he said then, but I'm going to think about this orange guy who said he does this or that and the other. I'm not going to say that because I don't think he deserved to be bringing that up again. You know what I mean? On Trump, I'm talking about. And that's how they rolled on it. My community, too. They wrote on that he was racist and everything else. And the old slow guy who sits in his basement, who barely can't hold a whole sentence together without going off it. Good guy. We gotta vote for him. He loves black people. That's how they look. That's how they did it to us, man. And guess what all our people did, or my people did? Went and voted for him. And yes, I know about half of them that did are now announcing their disappointment and their buyer's regret.
Dominate entertainment. Can sing like nobody business. I don't know nobody can sing better than some of them sisters in my church. But at the same time, all of that emotion and stuff that make black people in our country great at a lot of things, it also is the crutch. A black man can clearly pull a gun out, shoot a cop, and they shoot him down. But somebody will get emotional about what transpired, and the whole community show up, and they all out there screaming. He ain't even do nothing. He was turning his life around. Like I saw a video the other day. They said he was turning his life around, and he had a warrant for his arrest for being a prohibited possessor. He shot the cop. I mean, god dang.
And that was yesterday, bro. Like, when are you gonna do that?
So it's just the emotion, which is how they play. And if you don't understand that emotions or emotionalism is your kryptonite, then you're gonna fall for it every single time. It's like being in a toxic relationship. A person has a stronghold on a particular emotion that you have. So as soon as you're ready to walk away, they tug on it a little bit, and you're gonna give them another chance. You give them another. This time they're gonna change. Oh, I see. You want to see it in them. So you see the best in them, and they dirty as two left dirty socks on the two left shoes, and they reel you back in. The Democrats been doing that. Obama, they reel us back in, even though he was crap. He didn't put up a black Supreme Court justice. He had an opportunity. He put in two women, and neither one of them were black women. They reel you back in. Biden is just stinking it up.
Yeah.
They gotta find something to reel us back in.
Yeah, when people ask, Savannah, why don't you support BLM? Because I've been paying attention since the Trayvon Martin murder. I've been paying attention since Hands Up, Don't Shoot. This isn't new.
Right.
People jumping on the bandwagon like, oh, it's new. But no, they've been around for a very long time. They've been manipulating the scene and lying for a very long time, tugging on emotions, ignoring facts, not doing anything.
Well, they're buying homes, right?
Yeah, that's all they doing is
Right.
getting money and moving out the hood that they so-called love.
Now they're poor. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will take a little bit of a glass half full approach though, because I think while the media is able to trick a lot of less than intelligent people who are just ready and willing to drink up everything, I think they also sometimes can trick critically thinking people into believing that we're the minority. Or it doesn't even have to be like a critical thinker, but I think if you really get out there and you talk to people, you'll realize that obviously it's not a fringe, like these are not fringe things, but it's the media that has it's a two-pronged approach, right? So they trick the stupid people, and then they trick us into believing, wait, are we really the minority? Like, is what I'm thinking really that crazy? But it's not. I hope, I could be wrong, but it's just like, traveling around the country over when I, couldn't work, and you talk to like a guy repairing a TV at an apartment building, and it's just like everybody's normal, bro. Of course, there are the outliers. California, New York is crazy, but even there, if you go to Flatbush, Brooklyn, and talk to the guys at the bodega, they're not rocking with Joe Biden. They're not buying the Roma propaganda. You talk to the hood guy buying a loose cigarette in Flatbush, you're not buying any of that, bro. So I think that's a glass half full approach. I'm not quite sure.
I think you're onto something, because I'm starting to realize that I don't really think black people are as convinced as they make them seem like.
Exactly.
Because you talk, when you see people on TV and they do that, they all crazy, right? When you meet people in person, I don't think we're much different. I don't think none of us are much different. Like, you talk to a black person in person, and you're like, I don't agree with that. I don't support that. I didn't vote for Biden. I didn't vote for Obama. You're like, you didn't vote for Obama? Well, I haven't met a person that support Obama. Where are these people at? Because on the mainstream, they make it seem like one thing, but when you talk to people face to face, it's a different scenario.
Man, this guy went out here in California after Joe Rogan said the N-word, and that whole compilation came out and started asking a bunch of people, how do you feel about the N-word? Every single black person we interviewed said, I don't care. You didn't call me that. Let's go on with that. And then all these white people started saying, that's horrible. He needs to be canceled. He needs to be fired. He needs to be held accountable.
It was white people, not black people that wanted him canceled. It was white people that wanted him canceled.
They identify the victim and they go, but you can be the one to save him. You can be the ally. And people want that struggle. They want that fight. And I think our lives are so devoid of struggle and fight that when we find these people who say, join this battle, here's the battle of your lifetime, they jump right in to do it, even though most black people are just like,
man, that little girl smart, boy. That young girl smart, or young lady.
Right.
Who even is this?
No disrespect intended.
I see it all the time. I see it all the time. The savior complex is crazy. And then you get a couple black people who are radical, and then they get these white people who are got the savior complex and feeling guilt, and then they just buy into it. They fund it, they support it, they live it. I made a video just the other day about it was a black lady on a Zoom call. I don't even know what this Zoom call was about, but a black lady was on a Zoom call with two white ladies, and she was like, "I don't care nothing about white tears. They don't affect me.
Yeah.
Y'all condition the world to believe that black tears don't matter. Y'all don't even care." I mean, she talking to them. They on the call with her. She talking about y'all don't even care about nothing that black people do, and it's like, and then the one girl was like, "Dang." Like, yeah, dang, we messed up. I'm like, no, man.
What did you do?
Right. You didn't do that.
You her friend.
Right.
You like,
Right.
it is abuse. I called it racial abuse.
Yeah.
Literally
Narcissistic
taking advantage
abuse.
of another person's empathy, or at least an attempt at empathy,
Yep.
and just beating them over the head and making them feel lower than low because you have a complex. I think that's wrong.
Narcissist.
Oh man, I have a family member who works for the political left, so you can imagine how proud they are of what I do
Oh.
now. But she was telling me, and she's what?
To that comment that somebody just put down there on his whatever fan page or whatever, it is white liberals, like Malcolm X said. White liberals will be the downfall of the black community. Look it up. I'm not quoting it word for word, but it's somewhere in there. I've read it. All right, here we go.
Telling me, last month I went to this anti-racist training, and it was just for white people, and we all came and talked about how we all have an inherent bias and subconscious racism and things like that. And after they're going around and teaching people, and of course after you hear that, you want to jump in and start fighting. Oh man.
Wow.
And
You
Kamala,
just sit there and let someone tell you you're terrible because you're white.
Right.
and I think that, we're lost. Like, because they have done a good job at dividing and conquering us. We're not interjecting, or we're not involved in each other's communities to a certain degree. So white people that have never been around black people, they have this idea of what's going on in the black community. They don't know.
They don't know
And
at
so
all.
when they see somebody on TV say white people are privileged, they look at themselves and they go, "Oh, that's so sad. All these black people must be poor, eating out of trash can."
Yeah.
But if you live in a black community, you're like, no, a lot of people are doing good, and it's the people over here in the hood that are acting a fool. But if you don't converse, or we don't cross pollinate to some degree, it leaves everybody up to these mysteries. And then the people at the top in power can then tell you what to think without you ever being able to verify.
Right.
You know what? A lot of that comes
Exactly.
from the brainwashing as well. K through 12 education. If you're being told from the time you're a little boy, little girl, that you're white, you're privileged, you shouldn't have what you have, give it to the black person that said, let them go first, you are inferior. Like they take that into their soul with them, and they grow up with it. And their parents, a lot of time, are the same way. They kind of reinforce it. So when they get to be adults, it's easy to tell them, well, look, okay, go to this anti-racist training where they're gonna talk about how you're the white devil, just come to earth, and they'll be like, okay, yeah, because that's what I've been told my whole life. How was it any different? It's a continuation of it. See, it's K through 12, college, and the workforce. It's a lifelong thing, not just at a one time. It's all throughout their life. And then with the black folks, what they say, you're the victim. It's not your fault. Blame the white man for everything. So you have both sides growing up like that. Of course, you're going to have one side feel like they're the victim, and the other side feel like they're the oppressor.
And I feel like that's what kept me down.
Guilty about that. Now, some are going to be able to break out of it, but ultimately, a lot of us aren't going to be able to.
Mm-hmm.
100%. But
100%.
I want to pivot just a little bit and kind of bring up this idea that I thought was important, and I made my video earlier about going back to the Supreme Court Justice nominee. I find it very interesting that these very same people that talk about racism and push CRT, just look at the way they live their lives. Let me try to pull this screen up here. Look at the way they live their lives. And I'm in no way saying that. Is it echoing? I hope I'm not echoing like that.
No, you're good.
In no way am I saying it matters who you marry, because it really doesn't. You're supposed to marry the person you love, hopefully. But like these same people that are extreme activists against the white community and all this stuff, they marry white people. She married to a white man. AOC is dating a white dude. Kamala Harris' husband is white, relative, at least perception, he's white. All of these people that say white being bad. Who else?
Ilhan Omar.
Yeah, Ilhan
Oh,
Omar.
Lightfoot.
That's who.
Yeah,
Unlimited. It's like they
John Lemon, yeah.
If you want to date outside your race, that's fine.
That's cool.
My wife is white.
Right.
But if you are going to say
See.
the white man is the evil, is the devil of the earth,
Right.
oh, white privilege,
Right.
white folks are inherently racist. They white guilt and white tears.
Mhm.
You do all that and your spouse white.
Exactly. The spouse is white.
Like, where's your white guilt?
That's the oldest.
I heard that, Savvy.
I think there was a comedy routine about that from Chris Rock, where he's talking about the most racist person in the country would be an old black man. Talking about white folks are terrible, white folks are terrible. They said it's a revolution. I'll kill him first, except for you, Susan. He hates white man, but married to a white woman. That's so old.
Yeah.
They put that in movies. It's like it's so common. I expect it. Whenever somebody has so much hatred and vitriol towards something,
Yep.
I expect them to go do it. Just like I forget who that cricket pastor was back in the day, like in the 80s, where he's talking about homosexuality and drugs are the worst things that you could ever have, the deplorable sins, and he gets caught with an 18-year-old joker smoking it. Smoking it. It's like,
Oh,
see,
wow.
you know what I'm talking about? When you're so gung-ho, so full of hatred
Towards something. Exactly. And you're going, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I think so too. When I see somebody,
When you have that much hate in your heart towards somebody, you know what I'm saying? Or something. Like he just said, yo, I felt that way a long time. You want to dabble in it and see what it's about. That's what that's about. On the real. Why you think they hate white people so much, but they anywhere turn around and marry one. And I had, like he said, like Officer Tatum said, I have nothing against white folks. Yes, my kids are mixed. Nothing against white folks. And if it wasn't for me meeting her and leaving my community, you know what I'm saying, and seeing things in a different community, because before I met her, I never even heard about the town we in now, or I'm in now. You know what I'm saying? Never even heard about it like that. But then I get here and I you know what I mean, I'm still hood bound, hood type of dealio, whatever. But I started seeing other perspective. Like white people was talking to me. And they wasn't all racist or nothing. They was just having a decent conversation. This is when believe me, I never really had that many conversations with white people at that time. You know what I mean? Until I met my kid's mom. You know what I'm saying? And she's white. She's the first white person I ever dated. You know what I'm saying? But regardless, till I met her. And then she moved. I moved behind her. We get there to here or whatever. And I started communicating with people around here, man. I got a couple of white guys that, you know what I mean? If I needed something, they'd give it to me. You know what I mean? Basically with no questions asked. But if I go to the hood and ask for something down there, man, what you need that for, bro? When you gonna pay me back, bro? I need that money back, bro. There, bro, bro, come on, bro. You know what I mean? It's every excuse in the book not to give it to you, and when they get done talking, you don't even want the money now if it was about money or a car or whatever. You dig what I'm saying? So everybody need white friends, like Cat Williams said. I'm just playing though.
that's a believer, and they so fire and brimstone on everybody. I think they the main one cutting up. They the main one cooking. Or somebody like, I hate gays. They just all over gay people.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, you probably secretly doing something. You
probably one of them Atlanta guys.
You don't want nobody to know about.
Right. You have to. When you that crazy about something, even somebody.
Let me retract on that. Not all Atlanta guys. I'm just saying one of them undercover Atlanta guys that's married and woo, but deal with dab his toe up on the other scenes. You know what I'm saying? But when they're at home, he don't like nothing about him and nothing like that. Woo. Gotta watch them kind of guys.
He was such a bad person. He was abusive, and they just always talk about the ex. No, you still like him. It's something about that person that you still like. That's why you keep talking about it.
Yeah, it's usually a red flag when they go super woke for some reason, or they go gung ho about some kind of, the outlier opinion of the day. Carl Lentz, the pastor from Hillsong, New York. He went super woke right after George Floyd BLM, and I'm like, you're straying from the word of God, but you're hiding something.
Right.
You're
You
projecting.
had that girl.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen it in
that was my
person.
tip.
I've seen it in person with a buddy of mine way back in college who was doing some shady things at parties and stuff, and he's like this big feminist now, So he was doing awful things. He's a big like pot dealer, or whatever, like super cool guy, and he was doing these bad, I don't want to get too into details, but he was doing bad things. But then we get a little bit older, and he's like number one feminist, and he's like, you can't tell any jokes around him, and it's like, dude, I don't
Really?
know, bro. Like you got a guilty conscience, I guess. Is kind of, I guess, is like
Well,
the
you know
way
what?
you
He
like
could
put
have,
it.
he could have an awakening. He could have been, you know what? I was the weed man in college, but now I'm righteous. It's possible.
No, you're right.
From weed to feminism.
Right.
Well, I think it's either you correct or you overcorrect, right?
Yeah.
So either you get your life together or you're so gung ho that you go overboard.
Right.
Like
Your life
you
ain't
know,
even
like you
correct
said,
yet.
it's not enough not to be racist. You got to be anti-racist. You gotta.
Right.
I don't believe in it. And so this brings up our point, and this is a controversial topic. I'm not gonna beat anybody over the head with this topic, but I want to talk about it because it's been in the social spectrum. ABL, you looking in like you know what I'm talking about.
Oh
So there was
goodness.
there was this big controversy between conservatives and other people or whatever about Dave Rubin. And so I want to hear your take and what you think about the controversy and your opinion about it. Because I think we all have a different opinion. We may, I don't know. I think people have a different opinion about this whole scenario. Now let me set the precedent and then we'll talk about it. So Dave Rubin, surrogate children, he has a husband. I met both of them. They ain't never done nothing wrong to me. I like them. But I'm a Christian and I don't agree with same-sex marriage. But the controversy was some people congratulated him, some people didn't. And then people got mad at people for congratulating. Then people got mad at people for saying that they don't want to congratulate. So if you could just touch on what you think about the situation, and also, do you think it's fair to criticize on either side when it comes to people supporting or not supporting?
I can jump in, head start on here because Dave and David are fantastic, really close friends of mine. So I probably fall outside of most conservatives on the spectrum of this debate. I'm very much in support of them having children. And yeah, I was sort of shocked to see some of the responses that came out after this. My whole view on it is I don't view the world through a religious framework, so I think that automatically puts me at a different place than a lot of other people in this debate. So that was where the basis for my support came. Even more so them being fantastic individuals who just having their influence in my life has been so great for me. So I can't imagine what greatness that's going to do for two little kids. So that was really the extent of my thing, of my view of it. And I saw a lot of people had a lot of other opinions. I by no means am going to tell anybody else how they should feel about a different situation. Everybody has the right to have their own opinion, but I would expect the same from those people as well. I got a lot of people who were very upset with me for congratulating them when I never came forth and said I view the world through a religious framework or this was a set of beliefs that I had. I'm simply stating my opinion. And even I think I had 1,000 people unfollow me on social media over me saying congratulations. Yeah, so it caused a big rip, and I was shocked by it. But that's where I stand, and I still congratulate them.
Yeah, I love it. Who else want to jump in there?
Well, I think first of all, well, I was just gonna say, I think first of all, this is one of the types of subjects that sort of separates the left from the right. So we can sit here and talk about it and discuss it with level heads versus what you might see on the left. People are gonna scream and stuff like that. But with that said, I like Dave Rubin. He's had some pretty good takes. I think he was part of my early sort of red pilling, shall we say, along with B Tatum and ABL. Thanks a lot, guys. But I think I'm a little bit more concerned, and I don't really come at it from a religious aspect either, but I do think that there is something to be said that a child needs a mother and a father. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna knock him for, I will also say it's a little bit strange just for me. Maybe I'm getting old, but the surrogacy thing is a little bit strange for me. Even when I'm a big Kanye fan, but even when Kim and Kanye did it, was like very weird. It's like kind of like this weird rental thing that just doesn't sit right with me, and not from a religious aspect. It's just like I don't know. I'm like not a biologist, right? But um, I just think there's something to be said for the nature of like a mother and a father, and I think that there could be, and I'm not a parent, so I can't testify to it, but I think if like there's gonna be something missing, you know what I mean? It's like we talk about these fatherless homes that are these rifts in the communities and stuff, and there's nothing to say that it can't go the opposite way. And it's also a little bit weird that I think they're gonna be like 2 months apart. It's like you guys are not twins. I don't. It's like one's coming in October, one's coming in November. So all that said, I like Dave. I think he's a good guy. But I think in the long run, there needs to be a mother, and that's the kind of where I stand. Yeah.
So I grew up in a single parent home. So my dad passed when I was really, really little. So I didn't have a father figure growing up at all. And I understand personally just the need for that balance. My mom was amazing. My mom did great for being by herself, 2 kids. I mean, we had a good extended family, my grandmother and my aunt. My mom did a very good job of sheltering us away from some of the crazy in our family. But that balance is absolutely necessary because there are things a man can do that a woman can't do and vice versa. One of the biggest lies I think is told to us single moms is you can be mom and dad. No, you can't. No, you can't.
Right.
I mean, you can do the absolute best you can.
Yeah.
You can raise a rock star.
And you can do great.
But you can never be both.
Right.
But I think that balance is absolutely necessary to raise a well-rounded human being because men and women offer different things, but you can't control other people's lives. You can only love them and support them in their journey. But the lack of maturity from people who are the way they respond. Keep in mind, number one, okay, you don't agree with what they're doing. They're still human beings. Treat them as such.
Right.
These are still innocent children.
True.
Keep that in mind. We're not Democrats.
Right.
Okay, we don't throw babies under the bus. We don't do that.
No.
And you gotta be mature enough to accept that there are people in the world who think differently than you. And even people who vote in the same direction as you, we're different. Even within the conservative movement, there are things
we are different.
which we just cannot agree. It's just those basic core principles that make us conservative, and then you have little nuances here and there. It's a lack of maturity that bothered me. Like,
My bad.
not everyone's going to think the same way as you, and not everyone is going to share the same opinion as you. Why are you unfollowing her because she didn't think the way
You don't.
you wanted to? I've had people say that to me. Like, oh, this surprised me. I thought you would have felt. You don't know me. You don't know how tall I am. Okay?
No, I love that because, and I'm gonna let ABL finish it, but I think you made an incredible point. Is that we don't all agree with everything.
Exactly.
And that don't mean you gotta hate somebody.
No.
I love David and Dave. They got the same name. But I met them and I got no problem with them. That ain't got nothing to do what they doing at night. Ain't got nothing to do with me. Now I have an opinion about it, but that doesn't mean that I hate them. That don't mean I'm gonna go on their page. Y'all wrong.
Y'all going to hell.
Dave ain't never said he was a Christian. He ain't never said he was conservative. He
Right.
was more libertarian. They ain't living in the same principle. That's what make me upset about Christians going on somebody's page
Right.
and trying to bash them when they're not even in the same. They don't look at the world the same way. So you got to judge them on what they doing. You don't judge them on your own Christian theology. But anyway, ABL, what was you gonna say? I know how to put you last. Save the best for last.
See, now I got two issues here, and one of them is about them being gay, but the other one is not. The first issue is, I think Eric touched on it, but didn't quite go all the way there. I'm gonna bring it there. If a woman sells her baby on the street, is that legal? Can you do that? Can I just say, hey, you know what? I got a baby right here. Can I sell it to you for $25,000? Can I do that?
No.
But I don't think so. That's called human trafficking. But if I'm a surrogate, I can sell the baby because that's what that is. I mean, just call it what it is. Now I understand the reason some may do surrogacy, even if you're not homosexual.
Right.
Maybe somebody can't have children and they had their eggs put into the woman or whatever it is. I understand why that happens. Or the woman's like 80 years old, whatever it is. But the process is still the same. You pay her to have the actual baby. Probably about $25,000. It'd be the same thing as you buying a baby on the street. It'd be different, of course, because it wouldn't necessarily be your DNA potentially, but it's the same thing. So then it's like, okay, where's the ethics of that? Where's the legality and the ethics? Kind of a gray area. So I'm concerned about that, regardless of whether they're gay, straight, whatever. I don't really care too much about that. The ethics of it, of buying the baby, essentially, is kind of concerning to me. But beyond that, you do need the male and the female in the house because it's confusing. You can have a good home. I'm not saying I'm against gay adoption because, okay, check it out. Here's an example. If you have a 14-year-old that's been in the system for a long time, never been adopted, and is going to age out when they're 18 and be on the street basically, or trying to figure out a way to go, if a gay couple adopts them, he'd probably be thankful. But if you get a baby and you have,
I gotta agree with whoever just sent that in. I think the left has ADHD because they act first then think later. Real talk. And we already know I got ADHD, so I'm just saying I'm nothing like the left, and I got some control of my mind. Well, a lot of control of my mind.
a gay couple, that can kind of be confusing unless there's like women around. If you got a situation where there's like a nanny or something like that, or some kind of woman there in the house, that's a little bit better, but still it's going to be kind of confusing for the baby. And I think it should be more of an adoption thing rather than creating children and purchasing them. Because if you're adopting the child, that's a child that was born that it wasn't a thought to bring them in the child in the world and keep the child. It's like, okay, I can't take care of the baby. Can somebody else please do it? So rather than the baby being in the system, baby has a home. That makes more sense than saying, okay, we're gay, we can't have kids, but let's go buy one. So when somebody was saying earlier, they can't reproduce, I'm like, well, actually, maybe they can because they both got sperm, they're still men. So go out and just get some eggs from who knows who and buy the baby. Yes, they can make children. Or they could just have sex with a woman and make it that way. Yes, they can reproduce. They shouldn't be able to do what they can, and they are. And they're indoctrinating. So I have some concerns about the morals and the ethics behind it, but I'm not necessarily against them specifically as people. I don't know them. I like the content from what I see on YouTube, but there are also questions we got to answer.
Yeah, I think, and that's why I want to bring this up, not to put anybody on the spot or nothing like that, because I think people should be able to hear a diverse perspective.
Exactly.
Because I think everybody in this panel kind of come from a different angle and brought up some unique points, but that's the nuance of being a conservative. You don't, and I'm gonna say this, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have to be one thing to be a conservative, in my opinion. You probably have to be one thing to hang with these people, or to be in this group, or to be in this group, but the totality, nobody can tell you what you are. Nobody can stop you from voting. Like, even if you were a person that did not think that, gay people should, I don't know what the person would think. If you were like really radical and you think gay people shouldn't live or something, you can't stop them from voting. If they vote for Trump, that's a good vote. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, even if you don't like them, like there's other black conservatives that I do not like because I feel like they're fraudulent. But at the same time, it ain't my position to tell you if you in the conservative movement or not. It ain't my position. I ain't rocking with you like that. But there may be some people that are. Maybe some people that convert because of y'all, even though I don't subscribe to them. So I just wanted to get y'all's take on it because it was such a hot topic, man. People have been still talking about it, and I hate the fact that they attack people in the name of religion, because it makes the religion look bad. It's like, oh, you guys are disgusting. It's like, according to who? According to God. Well, you really don't know what God is thinking about them at the moment. I don't know what God. I don't know what their relationship is or what God has for them in 5 years, in 10 years. God is not looking at right now like we are.
Yeah.
God know the end of your life, and the end result of your life may be pleasing to God, and God can see it all all at one time. So I can't tell you what God think about another person, but you can have an opinion, and I'm glad that we all can formulate an opinion, whether you go and congratulate them and whether you don't.
Right.
I wouldn't unfollow you because you said you congratulate them.
Right.
You know them. You probably have a relationship with them. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I think people are stupid, and I'm glad they unfollowed you because they ain't worth. They don't have the mental fortitude or at least the intelligence to have nuance.
Right.
And those type of people, you don't want them on your page anyway.
Right.
But anyway, I think I beat that dead horse. But going back to father, and I got this shirt on, say fathers matter. I think outside of all of that, I do think it's very important for young people to have a father. As a father, I see the importance. And I didn't see the importance until I had a kid, how important my daddy was. Because now I look back and I say, dang, my daddy used to change my diaper like I'm doing this little boy down here. You know, my dad raised, he loved me. He looked at me and admired me like I do my own son. Then it raised the value of my father. Then I start to look back and I say, look at the protection and look at all the things I put in place to build my son up and make him the best human he can be. My dad did the same thing. He did the best he could to make me, he helped me and my brother, me, my two brothers and my sister, be the best version of ourselves. And so it really helped me to realize how important my father was. And let's not forget about the women, but what is y'all take on fathers? Because I don't know everybody's situation. If everybody had a dad in their life, or was dad in and out of the life, or whatever. But what's y'all take on fathers?
Well, okay, I mean, I guess so. I think it was actually Jericho who said
Let me
one.
cut in on that for a hot second on fathers. It's a hot topic. Me personally, I've been in my kid's life since day one. And I can't say it up here and say I was the best father because I was never taught to how to be a father, never seen a father that really cared and put people, their kids first. You know what I'm saying? Because at a young age, I was basically forced to raise kids, put it like that. You know what I mean? Starting from, I think, what was I, 11? So, in that aspect, I was a young father to my little brothers and sisters, but I'm only their brother. Only thing I can do is find a way to feed us at these times back then. So I never had that person to look up to be a father. So I know I screwed up during my kids growing up because all I felt was, hey, I'd be here to protect them, period. If anything else, I'm going to be here to protect them from anything, from anybody hurting them, touching them, harming them, any kind of way because I know what happened to me as a kid. You know what I'm saying? So as a father, yeah, I wish I would have had that person to look up, like Tatum or whatever, or anybody, just to have that father figure. I didn't have that. My father figure was the streets. You know what I'm saying? And I wish I'd had something else. But hey, you live, you learn. They know I love them, period. And ain't nothing happened to them their whole life, period. Nobody harmed them in their whole life, period. Because that's one thing I took serious. Touch one of mine, be the last time you touch something, period. And my little brother said, he hate when people say, when dudes say period, but that's a period on the end of those. So yeah, I didn't have that kind of that like I didn't have that father figure to look up to. I just had hood guys to look up to and followed in their footsteps and screwed up a whole lot in the 90s. All right, back to it.
His older videos that, of course, a single mother or a single father can raise an actual superstar, rock star, a stand-up person, but you're giving yourself the best odds when you have two parents, right? You're just giving yourself the better odds when you have two parents in the household. And look, my father was in and out, like, bro, I remember, like, not to get too personal, but I can genuinely remember being a young kid having my dad say he's gonna come get me from my mom's crib and not showing up. You know what I mean? Like something right out of a movie. And we've had arguments. He's like I said, he's been in and out. We've had arguments, and we were probably best. Like the best relationship was like what maybe 2012 to the Trump years, and then he's glued to CNN, bro. So it's crazy to see him now at this older age. But with that said, you obviously, man, like I don't know the statistics, but I would be willing to bet that if I go back to Brooklyn, and you guys know you read the headlines, it's crazy in Brooklyn right now. There's, like I literally live in like the center of a gang territory where something flat, but it's crazy. But I would be willing to bet that's why I moved. There was actually a shootout right in front of my house. I was going to work on a Sunday morning and almost got hit in the drive by, but that's another story. I think
I know that life.
this is my guess, and don't shoot the messenger, but I'd be willing to bet that a lot of this stuff going down in those type of neighborhoods, they're not gonna like. I don't think the dad is sitting at the crib like, "What'd you do today, son?" It's like he's gone. He might already be at Rikers. He might already have been like even who's this little rapper now who's really buzzing, Little Dirk. Like Little Dirk, he's got
Yeah, his
he might
daddy
have
in prison.
25, maybe 30 years old, and he's left a path of friends that are all dead. His father was one of these Chicago like kind of gangsters, and it's like, bro, as corny as it sounds, the apple just doesn't fall too far from the tree. So when pops is not there, you're just not setting yourself up for that. Of course, you can crawl out of it, you can climb out of it, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, as some people would say, but you're just not giving yourself that full opportunity. And it's no fault of the kid, right? Like if mom and dad didn't work out, or dad was into some other stuff, it's nobody's fault, but you definitely need that counterpart. And like I said in one of my little videos, they're coming for the fathers, bro. They don't care. Like they literally are setting it up to the point where the father shouldn't have a say. If
And that's why the welfare system was built the way it was to keep the, like they said, the nuclear family apart or whatever. And I can remember my step pops when we was kids. Now I did have him all the way up until I was like 9 or 10. Things broke bad, fast. When they broke bad, they stayed bad. But I can remember though being about 8, 7, something like that, and caseworker or something like that was coming over, and he'd be there knocked out because he had just got off work, and he forgot that they was coming over. It happened like twice, and my mama run in the room like they hear her. He like who? He's like such and such, such and such. And I swear, man, pops ain't fast, but he was real quick them days to get out the back door so he wouldn't get caught in the house. And she was quick to hide his shoes under the bed and close the closet doors and everything. That's something that's not cool, yo. For the father couldn't be there because, or else at that time they cut the. I think my mom was on welfare, of course, and they'll cut that or something like that because you made too much money. And pops wasn't making that much money. He was like a cook. You know what I'm saying at that time. So you know what I'm saying. I can remember them days, man. Understandably so, for real. I can remember those. And that's another reason why that pops is not in the house or father's not in the house. Mine had a different issue. My real father, he was an alcoholic, which I became one at a point in time, and still is. But I don't drink. It's been since 2018, 4 years, right? Yeah, 4 years now since I've drank. But I can remember them times, you know what I'm saying? And I seen my father every 3 years, and it was on my account to catch up to him when he was in town.
if the mom wants to, is not ready for the child, and the father's like, "Are you crazy? You're keeping that baby," and they be like, "Well, you don't get a say, bro," and that's really sad. So it goes a long way. Obviously, the mother is equally as important. That's the whole thing, right? That's the
Being a family.
backbone of our existence, right? It's like man, woman, child, and to erase either part of that is just kind of asking for trouble, I think.
Yeah. What I know about my father, he was in the military. He probably would have retired from the military. He loved the army. And he was a strong man of God. I often think about who I would have turned out to be, how much different I would be had he not had the audacity to go meet with Jesus. Like, I would not be the same person. Like, that influence is so heavy, and yet in our culture right now, it is trendy to demonize masculinity
Mm-hmm.
and to demonize strong men and to somehow mold men into being beta submissive men who, instead of leading from the front, their job is to sit back, be quiet, and let the women speak. I live in New Orleans. I don't know if you heard about the carjacking that happened just a few days ago.
That old lady?
Yes,
They
14
ripped
year
her
old,
arm off.
17-year-old, 16-year-old, two 15-year-olds, three of them are female, decided in broad daylight to carjack this person. And instead of waiting for her to get out of the car and hook her seatbelt, they dragged her, ended up taking her, dismembering her arm as she passed.
Oh,
I did not hear that story. Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Me neither.
My wife told me
And
about it.
It's
Wow.
the banana republic in New Orleans right now. Just and so many young kids who are committing the most heinous crimes. And a lot of that is that imbalance in the home. Because mom can't do it all. Mom can do a lot. Mom can do the most, but mom can't do it all. And that father figure is so important. Instilling those values, showing them how to be leaders and followers. Showing them how to treat women, how to respect women, how to pull your pants up, how to walk into a room,
That's a big one. Pull your pants up.
how to lead a family. They're not getting that instruction.
I never got that part either.
These
I ain't gonna
children are
lie.
children forever.
The leading the family part, I never got that part. And I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of emotional right now. So I'm gonna let this play, but eventually I'll lead them down the right road.
It's such a small part of your life. They're gonna be adults at some point. That thought is gone. Fathers absolutely matter. That balance is
Remember that story about the fathers who came into the school and like cleaned up everything in
Oh,
48 hours?
Yeah, that was a good one. I remember that
Really
story.
getting that.
I remember that story.
Men make such a difference. It's just thinking as someone who didn't grow up with a father and the way I gravitated towards male authority figures. I was smart enough to know not to go too far and not to do something completely stupid, but I gravitated towards
Dad's on duty, yeah.
because there was something in me that knew I needed what they had. There was something that my mother couldn't teach me that I needed from them. As women, a lot of our self-worth, our value, the love we have for ourselves, seeing ourselves as beautiful, that doesn't come from our moms. We learn that from our dads. They're the first ones to tell you you're beautiful. They're the first ones to remind you of your worth. Before any man on the street can tell you how pretty you are, I know my daddy tells me all the time.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean that's why you talk about daddy issues and young girls, like you're not hearing what a dad should sound like or what love feels like from a man, and then you meet a guy after being raised by a single mom for X amount of years, and he tells you all these things and he's lying, but you go for it anyways because you never got shown what that true relationship is supposed to look like. For me personally, my mother and father got divorced when I was around 6 years old, so I don't have that many memories of my father. I still talk to him every now and then, but it's not that same relationship you would have with somebody who was there. And I gravitated towards my grandfather. So my mom would go out and work all day, 9 to 5, and then I'd be with my grandparents all day long, and they cooked me dinner, and they made sure I was taken care of. So I got a male role model there. So I think it's important that if you are a single mother, to make sure that your kid has significant male role models in your life, because that can make or break you. It truly.
my bad. But man, it seemed like my CPU or something. What did I say down there? Oh, when I stopped it, then it went away. It said telling me to get something a stronger CPU or something on there. But I'm gonna let it play. I'm sorry about that, y'all. Continuation.
Does dictate how you see the world, how you let other people treat you, how assertive you are, especially for young women, which is a massive problem. And yeah, you need both role models.
100% correct. And with me, I am my dad.
Yeah.
I'm my dad. I'm my dad.
Too, though.
Yeah, y'all twins. I saw your dad like, okay, yep, that's ain't no denying that right there. Ain't denying. And no DNA test is nothing. That's your father. But no, I mean, I am him. Like, it's crazy because it's like some of the same things that he would do that I would watch and I would see. I just do it, and it's not even really. I think about it. And the same thing with my granddad. My granddad was also politically involved. He knew the governor of Virginia back in the day, Douglas Wilder. They were friends. He was really involved in the community. Same thing with dad. So it's like I didn't even really want to necessarily get involved in politics, but it was in me because I saw it all the time. Like there's a lot of things that children pick up, they don't even really realize they're picking up until you get to be an adult and you have that with you. So when there's no father figure, people find themselves on the therapist's couch, figuring out what's going on, trying to figure out what's missing. Where am I not getting everything I need? It's because they didn't have everything from a young age that they probably should have. At a certain point, we're all human beings, and you got to get certain things. You got to get certain kind of fulfillments to be our full selves. Like for instance, if you're not eating enough food, if you're malnourished, you're not going to grow appropriately. You're going to kind of be a little bit different. Just like in Korea, in North Korea, they're like 6 inches shorter than the South Koreans because of the food difference. It's the same people. They're not different. It's the same exact people, but they're being raised differently. They're being fed differently, and they wind up different. So without that dad, man, it's really bad. Like look at the penitentiary. 80% of the inmates, single parent household, no dad. It's because a lot of these guys, what ends up happening is they either go one or two directions. They become very feminine, like their moms and their aunts and whatnot, or they become
Over
a
hardcore.
fake version of masculine, trying to overcompensate, and then they become super thugs.
Right.
I know these guys.
Yeah.
I grew up with them.
I was
Guys
one.
that put you into a house don't even really care.
That part I wouldn't do. Never.
Solved, they can't really get through life. You know, I'm seeing some of these guys, 20 years old, can't use a screwdriver or a shoehorn. They don't know because they never had a dad in their life.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's not even about being gay or straight. It's about not having the tools to be able to operate. I know some gay guys, they can build a whole house in a day, there's no problem. Because they still had a dad around, some type of male around them. But a lot of these guys that are just real soft, they can't do anything. Because they never had that type of that experience with a male authority figure from a young age.
And I want to point out really quickly just that mom and dad does not mean ideal. You can have a mom and a dad who show no love and no support, and that's like sort of where I stand on the Dave Rubin thing, is that love and support is more important than anything when it comes to parenting children, and I know they're going to have plenty of really great female role models in those kids' lives. So yeah, mom and dad is great, but also love and support your child.
Yeah, I agree with that. My wife was talking about that the other day. Is that when you get a kid in the world, you know, you say, which one would you rather them be? You know, of course, I'm just, it's weird to me to see two men together. But if you know, the kid is going to be a foster care and getting abused, what do you want them to be? You know, they get abused, but you want them to be with people that love on them and they can take care of them in a quality fashion. I mean, obviously, you want the quality love. A kid will probably fare better in a household of two men that love them and is gonna treat them right, than going from home to home, getting trafficked and all kind of stuff. So I mean, I can see why people have that argument, but as far as the father's concerned, it's little things that you do. If you didn't know your dad, and you wonder who you sound like, you know, because I talk now and I say stuff just like my dad. And like my mom always said, boy, you sound just boy, you looking more like your dad. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if I didn't know the man, I would be confused at why I talk like this. So people would, but I know him. So it's like, he can see me acting like him. And I'm not trying to, it's in my DNA. You know, and I watch my son too, and I tell him, I say, boy, he do something at school. I say, boy, I already hit your life. I already hit your life.
Right.
You can't tell me that you late your class because you up here and you got to walk out in here.
Alright. Yeah, you took the long way. Yeah.
We thinking like, I know you thinking what I was thinking. So you ain't gonna play me. You need to stop talking to people and playing and get straight to your class.
You know, why do you get like that? No, that clip with Tiger watching his son and it looks just like him. That's like just what I'm thinking about. You guys seen that one of those going around. He twirls the club just like him. You can tell that he just picked it up. Yeah, Tiger Woods' little son. What's his name? Charlie, I think. It's just funny. Like he's a spitting image when he puts on the red shirt. Like
all our mannerisms, all the movements, it's like that's just you just
That's Tiger Woods, yeah. That's exactly what that is.
And the thing is that it is a legacy, and you feel pride. I'm gonna tell you this: not knowing my grandfather on either side, I feel a void there. Like I don't know where I am. You get what I'm saying? Like I know from my dad, but I don't know my grandfather. Like my dad would have to tell me stories about my grandfather, and I would just light up because I didn't know who Bobby Senior was. I saw him a couple times when we got older, and he came back in the picture when we got older. You know, when we got a little older, we were still young. My dad was a little older, but he came back in the picture, and we were intrigued. You like, this dude look like my dad. You know, and the way he used to talk, I never forget, he used to call them, instead of calling them coaches, he used to call them coaches. I don't know why he go, man, them coaches up there acting. You know, I'll never forget my grandfather. And I did my history tree, or whatever you call it. It's not 23andMe, it's some other thing.
Ancestry.
Ancestry.com. So I did that, and and way back, my great grandfather's name was Elijah, which is my son's middle name, and I didn't know. And so there's a connection there, and I read all about Elijah Tatum. I read all about him. He had, I don't think, like 7 kids. They lived in Jackson, Texas, and it's like that's my history. And the sad part is that I feel that way about my grandfather. Imagine not having a father. You really don't know where you're from. You don't know where you're going. You don't know your family, your other uncles that look like you, that talk like you. You don't have none of that.
Right.
If you don't have a father. And so I think it's important, all of us, to understand and to know and to try to pursue having a family structure to create generational love, generational prosperity, and I think it's it's a good thing for us to acknowledge that and do that, and because it's important. If anybody says that it's not, and I would never say nothing about mamas. Like you got to do the best you got.
Right,
Don't
right.
walk out on you what you gonna do.
Right.
You gonna quit? No,
You gotta still be a mom.
Raise a LeBron James. I think LeBron James is an amazing guy, except y'all want politics.
Right, right.
He ain't caught up in the controversy, he cheating on his wife and all that other stuff like that, like some of them doing. So I give him credit for that.
Right.
Yeah.
But his politics stance
Dad
is
was
terrible.
around more, and his dad was more in his life. He probably would be a little more
Conservative
when it comes to like politics and being
Right. And have common sense.
his dad could be a left.
Common sense politics.
My dad voted for Biden. I said, hey, man, all those videos I made, you still vote for Biden?
Yeah, but my dad too. My dad too, man. That's crazy.
I don't think you're gonna do it no more though.
Well, my daughter did.
Gas prices. Like, I don't know about that. Something
You
else.
can't ignore it.
I hear every time Joe Biden do something. Hey, Dad, what about the gas? It's crazy, the gas prices. You see the gas prices? You still have that real estate. You look at our equipment, Dad. I seen the picture of all our military equipment still over there. They cruising in it. They have no pep rally. I give my dad every single chance I get. Look at that Supreme Court justice. What do you say? Yeah, that ain't right, man.
He's gonna be in office a year. How did it get so bad?
Yeah,
So what's the bad shit?
I knew it was going to be bad. I thought we
Oh, no, it was bad. Right at the gate, put a hamstring. He down. What do y'all think about the election moving forward? Do you guys think that, I know we can't say too much. Don't be banned on here.
Right,
You
right.
guys think
I already got a
the
warning.
right thing is going to happen midterms and the 2024 election. Not whether it's going to be fraudulent or not, but whether or not people are going to actually turn out and vote for what's right, or you think they're going to get convinced again in 2022 and 4.
I swear, if people don't get their mind right, if your mind isn't right by now,
Something ain't right. Your mind will never be right.
there's no hope for you. I swear, if you don't make the right decision come November, I'm going off the grid. I give up. I'm not because
Homesteading.
Right.
it's so
Something.
bad right now. Like I said, I knew it was going to be a bad 4 years because it was a bad 8 years when he was vice president.
Exactly.
What were you expecting? People
Exactly.
like Joe Biden is brand new, fresh face. No, y'all, he's literally been in politics for half a century.
Right.
He is systemic in systemic racism.
Literally. And
True.
it's, I don't know your words. Just y'all pay attention. Stop. Get out of your feelings. Get out of your emotions, and get into your pocketbook. Okay. Read a book. Read a bill. Figure out what is it that you actually believe in. What do you?
And on that note, what she's saying, literally, open y'all eyes, man. Stop voting on likable person or unlikable person. Vote on their policies. See what they plan to do. Check their track records. If their track record don't match up to what they trying to tell you they gonna do, believe me, if it's a Democrat, they gonna keep doing what they was doing. They just lying to get you to vote for them now. You dig what I'm saying? But don't go and do like you did with Trump. We don't like Trump. We gonna vote for Biden just to be doing it. No, you can't do that, man. This is what you get when you do silly stuff like that. You get a president that don't care about his own country, but to go to Poland or wherever you want to say and go to their border, but can't protect our own borders. It's ridiculous. So this is what you get. Just because you didn't like Trump, you can't say he was a bad guy. It was just because of what the media fed you to believe he was a racist. But you never did the research on Joe Biden. Think about that. And he was a racist. Don't care what nobody say. In my opinion. Not none of the guys on the panel or the ladies on the panel. In my opinion, he was a racist.
Really believe in? What do you really want? And actually look at the candidates that are being presented for it.
Exactly.
Okay, I think like I said, okay, Democrats have been ruling this place for years. People coming out and just sort of the same thing.
And Wisconsin on his way.
And nothing gets better. We have a district attorney who literally won't file charges on people, forgets to file charges, neglects to file charges. People are being released from jail because charges aren't being filed on time.
Right.
A kid died earlier this year because the person who killed him was someone who was released from jail because charges weren't filed on time. Like, pay attention to what's going on in your area. Pay attention to what's going on in your city. Write down, what do you actually believe in? Because I guarantee you, a lot of the things that you're voting for, you really don't believe in. Black people are more conservative than they realize.
On the real. On the real. And people don't know it. We are.
Just history-wise.
Exactly.
We're very conservative because so much of the community is leave me alone. Let me do my thing. Let me thrive. And very much liberal is, no, I can help you. I can do everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just pay attention. That's all I ask. Just feel like that's not too much. Just next.
I actually feel pretty optimistic about it. I think it's final. Like, I think as corny as it sounds, I think people are starting to come out of this fall. Like, I mean, like
It's a slow process.
I didn't even really pay attention until the individual mandate. I'm like, oh, what for nothing? What happened? And then I'm like, wait, hold on. Let me get my bearings, you know? And now, whether it's the gas prices, whether it's Afghanistan, whether it's student loans, whatever it might be, people are starting to snap out of it, I think. And this kind of just like goes full circle to my earlier point that they've still tricked us into believing that we're just this fringe minority, but it's I don't think that's the case. Of course, you're gonna have those weirdo pockets, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, whatever. But I think, and we all know that polling is not to be, you can't trust that stuff as far as you can throw it.
Nah.
But I feel optimistic just in the way that, like, if nothing else, people are just being like, okay, because we also forget too sometimes that the hard left, they don't like Joe Biden either. You know what I mean? They think that they're calling him right wing or whatever. So those people, which for the record too, I don't think that the angry mob that was burning down cities in 2020 all dropped a vote in the mailbox for Joe Biden. But that's another
Right. I don't think they did either. What? That's another story. We don't know what
so
happened.
crazy far left. They're not really voting. The people in the middle are like, wait a minute, it cost me $10 for a jug of milk. It cost me $7 for it, and they're slowly gonna put it together. And you could go. God, when I was in South Dakota for a little bit, and people saw my California license plate. I mean, I moved around for a little bit, so my car's from California, but I moved to South Dakota from Brooklyn, anyways. And the guy who's fixing my car, he's like, "So, you just passing through?" Or I mean, he was like joke, like, it was like a wild joke. He was like, "So, you on a road trip, or you live here now, or what?" And then we ended up talking for we ended up talking for like 2 hours. Like, we were still friends. I don't even live there anymore. But the point is, I think I'm optimistic. I don't want to jinx it or anything, but I think I feel pretty good about November and 2024 because if it's all collapsing, their base isn't. I mean, they don't. There is no base. The hard left doesn't like Joe Biden. The only people that like Joe Biden, literally work at CNN. You know what I mean? There's really nobody else. A couple of brain dead people who just absorb the TV. Maybe not to bash anybody, but maybe like some boomers who still think the news is real. They might still think it's the same news from 1981 or whatever. But for the most part, I think we're gonna be able to. I like to keep positive and think we're gonna be able to claw our way out of this. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I think we'll be all right. I think a lot of people a lot of people realize that they made a mistake, and I think we saw that
Buyer's regret.
In the race last year in Virginia for the governor race. Now I'm from Virginia, so I already know I thought it was going to be a blue wave because I saw it as a kid. I saw it gradually change. When I was a little kid, it was a red state, solidly red. Back in like the late 80s, early 90s, it was solidly red. Then it became more of a purpley, and now it's blue because of Northern Virginia. That's really it. Like Northern, you don't count that as VA. Once you go past Fredericksburg, you're not in Virginia anymore. You're in DC land. That ain't the same thing as VA. So anyway, that's what's changing it. Like 40% of the population lives up there, of the whole state, and it's all blue. But when they started to go more red, I'm like, okay, that's going to be kind of a bellwether for the whole country because everybody's starting to see what's going on, and everybody has kind of the same viewpoint that it's going to have to go that direction.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the pendulum swing back. I'm scared about how far it swings back, actually. But I think people are over the woke culture, they're over PC culture, they're over COVID, they're over the state of the economy right now. And I think with this whole Russia-Ukraine thing, we're seeing a lot of warmongering on the left, too, which is not normal for what people think the left is for. So I think that's going to point out a weak point for them. I'm hoping we see a lot more like what happened in Virginia with Glenn Youngkin and Winsome Sears, seeing these strong conservatives come out and say, I'm anti this woke culture, I'm anti critical race theory, and I think parents are going to come out in droves to come and vote and fight for their children and just the future of this country. And I think it is going to swing hard back. The point where I don't have optimism is no matter where it goes, I think everybody across the board has lost faith in our election system.
Oh yeah.
And if it goes right, the leftists are going to be super upset, call it rigged, and call it all these things. If it goes the other way, I think we're going to be doing the same thing, and maybe rightfully so. I won't get you banned, Brandon. But I think just as a whole, our country has lost so much faith and trust in all of our institutions, our media, our systems. So what does that even mean? How do you build back better from that?
You can't. You can't. You gotta go back to make America great again. For real.
I like to believe that people are going to
We have to
present a backlash like never before. I mean, I think a lot of people, and I'm at the cigar lounge with these dudes, and and some of them probably watch it. They support. They said they didn't vote for. They voted for Trump the first time, but they didn't vote for Trump the second time because they didn't like his rhetoric.
because of his rhetoric.
And they can see what's going on. So I'm hoping that all of the people that said I'm not going to vote for Trump because I didn't like him.
How you talk?
They realize the effects of that is a feckless, half-dead leader with a cackling vice president who says a lot of nothing.
Oh.
I am amazed that she can get in front of the world and say 100 words
And don't say
and
nothing.
didn't actually say nothing. What was that? What was she saying? We gotta. It's not Build Back Better, but it's something.
Passage of time.
Passage of
Passage of time. And you know what? Because yesterday there was a passage of time, and today, later on in the morning, in the evening, there will be a passage of time.
That's exactly what she, I know conservatives can be really hyperbolic sometimes too. Of course, you see a little bit of something throw it out there.
Right.
I said, hey, I'm so tired of them being exaggerated. I said, let me watch this. Because if it's not as bad, maybe we will. I was like, what? It reminded me of when you're supposed to do a book report and you got to get a provision plan and you just read the back. And then we were talking about the passage of time, and you forgot all of it, so you get up there and you think you really saying something, and you loved it, and the teacher like, I read that book, and
You didn't read none of it.
Right.
There
You
was
not
so
one
many
part.
options for VP, but I know he's dead set on, a black female, which I don't.
It wasn't him being dead set on a black female in my eyes. I know what y'all come from to say or coming from. It wasn't him. It was his puppeteers because to make it look good. To make it look like he's not what he was when he was, and he still is from the 70s and the 90s. That's what it is. You know what I mean? And she disrespected him when they was going against each other in the debate. And he picked her. It wasn't him that picked her. Because if it was left up to him, he'd be sitting in a nursing home. And somebody else would be the president.
Technically, he isn't even African American.
She ain't.
She was taken for the wrong reasons. She wasn't
Exactly.
the right person for the job.
Nope.
She was never popular with Democrats to begin with because her character is just so 6 feet under. But I almost feel bad for her. I say almost because I just really don't like her, and I just can't get past that petty like that. Because she really has been thrown to the wolves. She was not prepared. She was not the right
And
person
still
for
ain't prepared.
the job. She was taken for the wrong reasons.
She didn't make it to Iowa caucus.
No.
Yes, nobody
She
wanted
didn't. She didn't make it to 2020.
No, I think she dropped out of like December 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She didn't even make it into 2020. And
Mm-mm.
then Biden said, "Yeah, this woman, you had so many options for females if you wanted a female VP."
I can probably name the Democrats you could put out there.
I mean, you could have better.
Yeah, she liked it.
Really kind of almost any random person in there.
Stacey Abrams would have done better than her.
Well, you know what though? You know what the funny part is? The funny part about the left and in politics, they understand that at a certain point, looks matter.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they do. So, that ain't really gonna. You gonna have her going out there on podiums and being on TV, sweating, So they put Kamala Harris in there because they think that she's attractive. That's really what it is. That's why Trudeau is in Canada. Obviously, he's not a good leader, but a lot of the women out there, a lot of the left women, they love him. Love him. That's why he's president.
Right.
If not for that, he wouldn't be the president. Period.
Right.
I'm kind of cheering on the choice of Kamala because, do you really want somebody who's smart and strategic in that role? Because she cannot save face. It would be far worse for us if Joe Biden went and made a fool of himself and then his VP came and sweeped it up and made it look all pretty. She's not capable of doing that. And I think that's a win for us.
Yeah, see? That young lady smart, boy, I tell you.
That's inspiring.
Both of them on here smart.
That joke is come and be the next president. I mean, all we got to do is get him in it. See, if they had a great one, we'll be screwed. Because he may get caught up in this Hunter Biden thing. As soon as they smell the blood, he gonna be out of there. They're gonna impeach him. They're gonna go through the whole sorrow thing, and they're gonna erect somebody into that position. And they're gonna be.
They are coming for Hunter Biden.
I mean, Hunter, we need to. And I don't
Ugh, I can't wait. Yes. Yes. Very, man. Not just Fauci. You got to go to the social medias outlet for withholding some of the information that could have made people or had people make better decisions before they made certain decisions that could have harmed them or have harmed some people. You know what I mean? That could have had a better outlook and a better view of things. But instead, they did a mass hysteria hiding of information. And then people like us, we say something about it. They want to ban us like he's saying, like Tatum saying now. I get a warning. I'm not even a YouTuber yet. I mean, my first video, I slipped up and said something about the 2020 situation. And I get a warning right out the gate. I'm like, yo, I didn't see that part, but now I see it, so I won't do it again. So, yeah, man, it's crazy, bro.
Probably gonna go to jail. Because I'm gonna
We're all on the list.
Yeah, they after us.
They get the community people or whatever. I'll just wait till the end of the term so you can get me out of here. But I want everybody. Hillary go to jail.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Inside trade. You know the problem is that I imagine this is what happens, and then I'm gonna let y'all go.
Hold on. Insider trading is only applied towards conservatives that's in the political view. If you're a Democrat, you can inside trade all day. I don't know what the lady used to do the cooking show, what she was when she got caught up for the insider trading and went to camp for 18 months. But that's what it is. If you're a liberal, you can get away and do whatever you want to do. Rules don't apply to you. But when you're a conservative, you have a different view, and you could turn a couple more people like you conservative. Oh, they want to get rid of us. They don't want us to get more black people to have a different insight or a different view of the Democratic Party and the truth of their agendas and propagandas.
Imagine this is what happens. you get it, and you are just gung ho. I'm gonna change America, and then you say, I'm gonna start rooting out corruption, and you look to your left. As a Republican, you look to your left and your right, and you go, I like him, and he's been inside the trading, and they all inside. They all doing insider trading. I can't really do nothing because then we're out our whole side. Because what's his name with the patch? His portfolio is at the top.
Yep.
Oh,
He ain't that smart. I mean, I don't think he is.
I ain't know that.
Because they're all doing dirty deeds. They get in there, and then you find out, oh crap. Like I can't go crazy as I want to because my best friend or the person who put me in here, somebody I've admired for all these years, they're the head of the GOP. They're gonna go straight to jail if I do this. And then the Democrats are gonna turn a blind eye, and then the Republicans are gonna condemn you, and then it's gonna make the whole party look bad. But I really do think it's no chance when you get there and you find that everybody's dirty, and you just either get in and get out, or you become dirty too. And you say everybody else is doing it.
That's exactly how it goes too.
Do people go in? Do you go in like, oh, I'm gonna scam my way to the top, or do you go in
Thinking you're gonna make a change?
and then you get kind of turned out? You're like, whoa, I guess I'm on it in now. And it's like a slow progression, or do you go in from the outside saying, I'm gonna get in, I'm already corrupt, I already have all these bad ideas. I guess it can go anywhere. There's however many 538 Congress members and stuff. So there's a lot of different.
I would love to say people come out with their best foot forward, but then greed, money, sex, scandals. I think it consumes you because I could imagine. I don't know if God gave me this in my mind. I like to see it. I can see you going there the first day, and they take you out to dinner, and you start hearing them talk, and you're like, oh my God, they're bad. Everybody's bad.
Right.
And then once you start doing the right thing and you're struggling, and they flying private jets, they setting up portfolios, and then eventually you start going, well, how can I get it set for life? And they tell you, it's all corrupt, it's all bad. Get it while you can. Get it while you can. Because when you leave here, you can skate off into South Texas, and nobody ever gonna think about you again. But you done set your whole family up. You done set it all up. ABL.
It's a whole movie about this called Devil's Advocate, Keanu Reeves. Really? Have you seen it?
No, I gotta watch that.
Oh,
I see it.
you gotta watch it. So basically, it's about he's a lawyer, right? I'm gonna get the whole plot away, but he's a lawyer, small town guy that goes to DC, and he's starting to see a lot of the things that happen in DC. You may see some of the glossy stuff. You may see the guy, the older guy in the suit, nice young lady on his arm. I don't want to get you too.
Don't get it, man. I'm gonna watch it tonight.
Watch it because, like, if you see it, it may look like one thing about a story about the lawyer and what happened to him, but really observe the surroundings. Look at what's happening when they go to these parties and then see him outside of the party. Look at the behind the scenes things that goes on. Look at the moral things you got to deal with being in a place like DC. It's crazy. But that right there is on point.
Well, I'll tell you this. I have seen it in the conservative movies.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I have talked to people on the phone, and I'm like, you sound like you're a pastor. You're saying the N-word, you're cussing, and you're talking like this. You're a pastor. And then I'm like, I like you, so I don't want to expose you, but bro, I really thought you was somebody. And then you catch these people doing dirty deals and people being frauds, and you're like, I thought you was running for office. You didn't even pay your taxes. And one of the politicians sued my wife. I'm like, what did he? And of course, he lost visibly. Our lawyer $10,000. But you see these people, and you're like, I thought we were all in this to save America. I thought we were all, our eyes popped. Like the people on here. Well, maybe it'll be conservative. But your eyes open and you say, wow, we've been lied to. I can't believe I want to do all I can to wake as many people as I can. I thought everybody was like that. It ain't. No, some people strategize. They want to do this so they can get in the room over here with big people, build up a persona, who they are, who they're not. They sleeping with people at these events. Everybody thinking each other. Like, what is our politician came in talking about I want to go gambling and go to the club. And he tried to have sex with women. And he was married. Think he went to jail. And y'all probably figure out who that was. He went to jail. He out now. But I was like, dude, I really liked you. I was gonna advocate for both of you. And now I realize y'all fake.
It's to the point where now I'm not surprised at anything anymore. Because I done seen so much. I done seen too much. It's like I wish I could unsee a lot of
Some of the things he's saying, you know.
You know what I mean? But like you go in the wrong room and you see something. I've been there.
Y'all fragile integrity is very fragile.
Very much so.
That's what is the struggle.
Yep.
Yeah, even when you get a little bit of fame, a little bit of recognition, that's why God comes into play for me, because it always helps me. God always helps me be humble and say, you know, man, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for God. Let me keep doing what I'm doing. I'll keep being successful if I keep being humble and keep doing right by people and supporting other people. If you do that and you feel like I don't need God, I mean for me, like a person who's a Christian, I don't need God. I'm a man now. I'm a man now. Everybody want me to speak.
That's why I think he just
Pride comes before the fall.
right. That's exactly how that goes.
Like I see dudes messing with
Exactly.
men. Y'all women probably don't have to worry about like men. Men can't keep their stuff in their pants. I gave the kid a whole bunch of money. I supported him. I did all this, and then girl come out and show all these text messages. He showed me text messages to her. Y'all, you still ain't right. You out here with all of this success and all of this recognition. People love you. They want to help you. You're doing something so great, and then you tricking with women and doing all this stuff.
You had one job.
A lot of people don't like when I say this part though. What I was one of them dudes back then, man. My wife probably know. She know. I couldn't keep, you know, I didn't think with this head. You know what I'm saying? Put it like that. And yeah. And the thing is now, and before now, I want to say about 4, 5 years now, whatever, 7, 15, 15. So since 16. You know what I mean? I've been on the straight and narrow, right? But you come to now time, and everybody got that thing that has been, you know, a lot of women have been bad and everything else. And anybody that's not married, because I know one guy, he's like, man, I'm scared to sleep around right now because of what they saying is inside of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, bro, I feel you. Anyway.
Do what you said. That's your work. But then you tricking with women and putting them up in 5-star hotels, 4-star, I don't know if it's 4 or 5-star, but tricking money in women. People donate to you and you trick. And then you mess with this woman is supposed to be a Christian. You got all these women, I thought you were married. Oh, Jesus. I teach my people, like we have our meeting every Monday, and I talk about my 5 pillars. I've said this in some speeches that I've done, but you know, one of my pillars is faith in God. That was number 1. The second one is integrity. Integrity, doing the right thing when nobody's watching. All the people you see crumble is because they don't have integrity. They get caught on a hot mic, they get caught in some bedroom, they kill people. It gets nasty. So you have to have integrity. And then loyalty is one. I'm loyal to the people. If I support you, I'm gonna support you whether I disagree with you or not. I'm gonna support you if you're wrong. I mean, unless you do something crazy.
Right.
I'm gonna support you through being wrong. You know, you make a mistake in good faith. I'm not gonna. I can't be with this person. I don't want them on my live no more because they did. I'm not gonna do that. That loyalty says you don't do that to people. You stay loyal, just like God is loyal to me, even when I be cutting up because you know my heart. And then fighting and winning. Those are the last two. You're fighting and winning. You're in a fight. You better be ready to fight. You know, some people they never fought before.
Right.
You get punched. You can't just lay down.
Yeah, right. You're going to keep getting punched.
You can't lay down.
On the rip, right.
You gotta take down and be like, oh, I see where we going here. I better fight to the end. This is like death.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in a fight, you can't punk out the first punch or you get knocked down. It ain't the end to get knocked down.
No.
You better get up. You better fight from the ground. You better do what you can.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we ain't in this fight just to be fighting. We gotta win. And then my last principle is winning. We don't do this just to get a participation trophy. We do this to win, to excel. And winning looks different for everybody. Whether winning is getting up, being consistent. Sometimes winning is believing in yourself. All of these different things. Like we do these things to win. So I'll finish it with that because I don't want y'all here all night and I gotta go. I won't watch that movie. My wife tonight about to babysit. So I appreciate y'all. I want y'all to share y'all social media handles and stuff. I'll end it with ABL. Amala, I'm gonna go with you. Savvy and then Eric. So we'll go like that. Share your social media. Where can people find you? You got merch, whatever you got, share it for the people.
I think I'm at the 2 hour mark.
I'm on Instagram,
All right.
Twitter.
All right, y'all. Now these are the kind of people I would like to have a sit down with and just conversate and learn from. You know what I mean? I ain't very good at expressing myself like that, especially emotionally wise. You know what I mean? And that's probably one of my downfalls when raising my kids or it's simple things like that. But these are the kind of people I think more of my people need to see. I was trying to get my daughter to watch. Get in tune with Amala. However you say her name, I'm sorry if I missaid your name. But I was trying to get my daughter to watch her. I sent her a couple of text messages. She said, Dad, why are you sending me this? Of course, my daughter is liberal because school. But regardless of the fact, though, I want more people to see these things, man. People from where I'm from to see it too. Be like, yo, look at, man. That boy went from doing this to slowing down to now moving in a different way. You know what I'm saying? And I want that for my people. You know what I mean? I'm the oldest of 10, so hopefully I can be an example one day for them. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, man, I'm hoping that Officer Tatum, I'm gonna find a way to send it to you, bro. And the rest of you guys don't mind me inserting myself right there, over there, into y'all live stream or whatever, but I wasn't there at the time that this all happened. But I'm just saying, I'm hoping y'all won't object. But I'm gonna try to find a way to send it to you. It's over 2 hours long. So we're gonna try to end this right here, right now. And this is my first video for the Wisconsinites YouTube channel. My other videos is on Al Mackey, which is a Wisconsinite pay attention situation on that one. And I got a warning over there too and all that. So I had to go and edit some things. And it said if I do it again, I'm suspended for 7 days and do it again after that, booted. So I'm running the ropes. I've only been doing this for like a week from, what's the date, the 27th. So basically I think 17th, maybe something like that. But I had plenty of videos too from last summer. I was just out in the garage talking and everything like that. That one day I might upload, but it'll be on the other one. This is more of my reaction channel. So I'm hoping that Officer Tatum, ABL Miller, Savvy, and Eric Butler let me post this on mine. I ain't got no subscribers. But hey, 10 years from now, it'll still be up there. If the world's working the same, it'll still be up there and people will still see it. And then they'll see y'all. Pretty sure they saw y'all already. I mean my people. Not my people, because we all the same. But people who never thought that I'd be a type of guy that make this kind of a change, put it like that. All right, well that's it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Any criticism is good criticism to me. Just send it. All right. Thanks. Have a nice one.